Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Streamline Your Liquid Handling with Scalable Integrated Automation. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Darren Arney from Biosero and Jose Couto from SPT Labtech. And today they'll be sharing their insights around how integration can help you get more from your automated liquid handling and boost efficiency in your lab. The format of this webinar will be based around an informal fireside chat. So I've got here with me a list of questions to pose to our speakers, and the aim of this is to tap into their expertise from their respective fields so they can share their practical considerations around integration to maximize your chance of success in the lab. We'll then have time at the end to answer any questions from the audience. So if you have a question for either of our speakers today, then please post that and we'll get to as many as we can after this initial Q&A. So before we begin, just to note that this is being recorded, and we'll make sure to send out a link to access the recording to all attendees as soon as that's available in the next few days. So without further ado, let me welcome Darren and Jose to the screen. There we go. And to begin with, let's start out simple. So can you both please introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about your experience with automation? So Jose, can we start with you?
Absolutely. Thank you, Rachel. So I'm based in Lausanne, Switzerland. At SPT, I'm part of the European FIS team. In my role, I support our customers and manage the FIS team as well in Europe. I have an industrial electronics engineering background, and I combine 19 years of experience in the field of laboratory automation and liquid handling. I've been in different roles, like system integrations, sales, customer, and application support.
Yes, thanks, Rachel. I'm Darren Arney. I'm the Field Applications Manager for Biosero. I'm based out of Indianapolis, Indiana, and have a degree in biotechnology. I've about 10 years of experience in laboratory automation and have been with Biosero for the past 7 of those. As part of the Field Applications team at Biosero, one of the vital functions that we have is to help translate the customer's assays into a method in our Green Button Go automation scheduling software. And this can take the form of anything from a single work cell integration with a couple of instruments and a robot arm, all the way up to a multi-work cell platform that can encompass a full suite of assays to accomplish a customer's end-to-end workflow for any number of applications.
Wonderful. Thank you both for that introduction. So today we're focusing around liquid handling. So I wondered if you could both speak about the benefits of automated liquid handling compared to, say, manual, whether that's from your own experience or feedback that you've had from customers that you've worked with.
Sure. So I would say that among the benefits, the speed up of the process of pipetting and dispensing liquids is a key thing. And at the same time, some of the real good benefits are that you significantly increase the accuracy and precision of the workflows you're performing, and this for different type of liquids and volume ranges. It allows you as well to perform tasks you couldn't do manually, like handling liquid handling volumes going from the nanoliter up to the milliliter within the same instrument. Something as well very, very painful for scientists and technicians is to work with very dense plate formats like 384 or 1536 plate formats. Liquid handlers and automation do allow that. And another benefit we shouldn't underestimate, the amount of time that manual pipetting activities can take in a working day. We estimate these sometimes up to 80%. So liquid handling, automation is the solution to go.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think anybody really gets into science, particularly just to sit at the bench and use a manual pipette all day in most cases. And I think especially at the scale to which we can use automated liquid handling, um, to have, a single technician or an army of technicians perform that same level of, output would ultimately at some point probably become a EH&S issue for repetitive stress injuries and things. So I totally agree that the um, reproducibility of that data is also paramount to its value in the laboratory. Something else that I think is parallel with that reproducibility is the ability to track the data behind all of those liquid handling transactions that are taking place. So not only should you be able to know that like we moved 20 microliters from this trough into well A1 of a specific plate, you need to know exactly when that happened. And so that you can try, if it's an important part of your assay, if you're dosing for like a sort of an ELISA or any sort of time dependent piece, you want to make sure that you know when that happens so you can compare if data is aberrant later, or if it's good, you want to know why it was good. So I think that helps as well.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. The repeatability is key as well. Absolutely.
Thank you both. So then if we take a step further, I wonder if you can speak about the benefits of taking an automated liquid handling solution and then implementing that into a bigger integrated workflow, and what that enables labs to do.
Sure. I think, being able to get all the benefits that we just talked about of automated liquid handling is great. But I think one of the first blocks we can see as far as the value of increasing that throughput in a lab is sometimes you're filling up one plate on one liquid handler at a time, or if you have a multi-NAS instrument, then potentially it would allow you to do 3 or 4 plates potentially. But then once you're still in the lab, you really can't get that far away from the instrument at any given time because the liquid handling operation you're dealing with would take maybe 5 to 10 minutes. And while it's saving you the time of doing that manually and of course increase the quality of the data, you really can't walk away for that long and go do a bunch of other things. So by starting to integrate some other instruments into your workflow, you could add a storage device, you could add a plate sealer, things that would allow you to walk away for hours or even days sometimes to make sure that you're continuing to get, not just additive value, but, multiples beyond that just by being able to start an assay and come back, a day or two later with a bunch of finished plates with all the data associated with them.
Yes, absolutely. And I would like to add throughput. Throughput is really very important for these customers. You can literally run your system for hours and run away, as you said. Then the robustness and the precision of these repetitive actions that you can really replicate at a large scale, generating really good data, and you minimize the risk of human error when you have repetitive tasks. So again, the way to go.
Definitely.
Thank you. So we've spoken about the benefits, but if we switch to now think about the applications. So from your experience, what are labs typically looking to achieve with integration, and what do you find that they're interested in doing?
Sure. I didn't start. I think I think it's worth noting this is kind of the exact type of thing that we do every day at Biosero. Usually, that can start with a customer who's already automation friendly and wants to, build an existing automated workflow into a much larger automated workflow. But the very entry level, I'd say, is customers coming to us with saying, "Here's an assay we have on the bench. We don't really have anything in the lab already, or maybe we're familiar with a couple of different types of devices. Primarily, I'd say like SPT devices are great examples of this, and I think we have a couple of videos of those running in the lab with some Biosero equipment. But usually they'll say, okay, well, we know that we need to do this, genetic, nucleic acid extraction analysis assay. So we know that we need to follow these steps across these time points. So they'll come to us or SPT and say, okay, we need to add all of these instruments. So we'll need a liquid handler, again, a plate shaker, a sealer, a storage device, and then we'll see what it takes to build all of those into a work cell to accomplish that specific assay. And then we'll start to add in considerations like we've talked about before, like throughput and how long we can expect this to run and how many different, tip boxes we'll need for X number of, wax one. And actually another benefit, I think, of using a lot of the SPT solutions here is that especially for the mosquito, which I think is in the next video we can show, you can hold a wide number of tips in the exact, one specific instrument without having to replace them too often. And with the Dragonfly, like we were showing in the last one, you can use those combs that will hold a large volume and can be reused repeatably, I think, over a certain amount of time. So we need to make sure that not only are we getting the ins and outs of the specific assay correct, but we're fitting the right equipment to that assay to make sure that the customer is getting the most out of their process in a given, run, I suppose.
Yeah, in our case, it's really the perfect solution for customers who want really to run away from these manual interactions. And with partners like Biosero, we are capable to offer workaway solutions for example, library prep. We had many COVID-sick integrated systems that have been installed at customer sites, where with the combination of the Dragonfly, which is a positive displacement contactless dispenser with really a broad range in terms of specifications for the liquid handling, going from 200 nanoliters up to 4 ml, combined with the mosquito, you accelerate your process, you really increase the throughput, and we all recall how important it has been during the formal COVID times. As well, we can play a role with other type of applications, like for example, some cell applications in drug discovery for the screening. And again, it really allows to standardize, to make your processes more robust, faster, and to ensure that you generate good data.
Yeah, definitely. And to add to that a little more, I think, like science is always a collaborative process, right? Like we have, the chemistry is what it is and the biology is what it is around a lot of these assays that we're doing. But the way that it's implemented and the way that any individual lab is going to accomplish that is usually at least slightly different. And that's where the people are able to add their own specific value to it. Similarly, the automation that we provide as solutions to these labs is never, we try to standardize as much as we can, where within the bounds of reason, to make this process as seamless as possible. But different labs have different considerations they're working on. Some are very throughput dependent, so we want to add as much storage as possible. Some want to be able to multiplex a bunch of different assays, so they want to buy a bunch of different liquid handlers and then to run a bunch of those simultaneous assays, or as many of those as they can. So we're always, willing to make sure that we can consult on what the best not only hardware is that we're using, but we also want to make sure that we're enabling our customers both with like the SPT software that you can use to develop the liquid handling protocols and for the individual assay steps, as well as our Green Button Go software, which allows us relatively like low code, no code, drag and drop interface to interact with those instruments. We want to make sure that not only are we helping each other, but we're also learning from each other all the time. And I think one of the best things we can get out of either me or Jose's job here is be able to like teach somebody how to fish and be able to make sure that we can build these things together, because I think that's what I've always found the most exciting out of laboratory automation, is just like being able to build something on the computer and then be able to watch like robots just sort of walk around and do these things that again, you don't have to do yourself anymore. So it's pretty neat, I guess.
And as well, maybe something to add to these very good points. It's not any longer as complicated as it used to be 10 years ago. Nowadays, softwares are far more easier to have been better designs and are far more easier to use. And as well, the scalability, that's something I really like very much. You can start with a mosquito, a plate hotel, a robot, and maybe add your dragonfly a year later to make sure that your system is adapting to your needs, to the new technologies as well, because a system, an integrated system, is not frozen. It's something that can evolve. So I'm looking forward to see very soon a Firefly integrated with your green button software.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think scalability is a really important consideration as well. We have the arms that we commonly use for integrating a bunch of instruments, but usually that would start with just one arm on a like non-moving base that just sort of moves around itself around a couple of instruments. And then as time progresses, or as the needs of the customer progresses, we can say, well, we're really good at doing this nucleic acid extraction assay, but now we want to add in a couple thermocyclers and potentially like another like a real-time PCR or another real-time PCR instrument to the stream to do the second step. So we can start, taking the burden off of one team of our lab technicians, and then we can start adding another assay from another team so they can focus more on the stuff that scientists want to do, which is actually like designing the experiments, reviewing the data, and making sure that they're being able to contribute in ways that the automation isn't necessarily able to.
And as well, another point that comes up to my mind that we shouldn't underestimate is the ability of the standalone instruments to be easily integrated into platforms. And at SPT, this has been key since the beginning. So no matter if it's a mosquito, the dragonfly, or even if we talk Firefly, when they have been developed, our engineers thought about integrating the systems. So, and this is a key parameter.
It's yeah. Also with scalability, I think we don't want to lose sight of the fact that you still want to use these instruments in their standalone capacity sometimes as well. So I think something else we keep in mind while designing the hardware side on these automated platforms is making sure where necessary we have access to all these instruments. So say you don't want to buy all of this equipment and say the only way I can use it is to do 1,000 plate run of something. Maybe I just want to do a little protocol on the mosquito or the dragonfly to save me a little bit of time. But so you want to be able to reach in, put a plate on it, press a button, be able to run that protocol still. And that's also something very important, I think, when we're making sure we're getting the most out of this investment when we put it into a lab.
Yeah, you definitely get the best of the two worlds, and customers should be aware of that. It's not because it's integrated into a platform that you necessarily need to run the whole system. You can as well just go standalone. Yeah.
Thank you both. I think that was a good bit of discussion there. And I think we've already touched somewhat on this, but just in case there's anything else perhaps that's come to mind, for anyone that's watching who might be considering building an integrated liquid handling workflow in their lab, I just wanted to ask if you both had any advice about what approach to take. So any key considerations, things to think about, just any advice for how people can get the most value from their investment.
Yeah, I mean, this is key. It's definitely key. Very, very important. Understand the needs. It all starts with that. Really take the time to go through the different workflows the customer wants to automate. Work with experienced partners, not suppliers. I like to call them partners, because these projects are very demanding in terms of experience and expertise. A solid know-how and good tools are really essential when it comes to choose the partner you want to work with. And yeah, again, I'd like to reinforce the parameter of understanding the needs to really have a good starting point. I don't know what you think, Darren.
I definitely basically just rephrase what you're saying in a slightly different way. I think picking someone who's invested in your success as well is paramount to making sure that you're both getting the most out of this project that you'll be working on together. Again, we talked about scalability a lot, and I think that's a great place to start the conversation to help avoid one of the main pitfalls I can think, which is getting paralyzed by choice. Like, when you see the whole world open up to you of possibility that you have when you're can integrate functionally any assay in your laboratory, it can be difficult to say, well, I can take care of everything at once if I just do one big project right now. But sometimes, especially if the lab or the organization itself is relatively new to automation, picking the thing that has the highest value but is a relatively smaller part of your process may be a great way to start, because it's not just the ability of your lab to be able to coordinate a bunch of manual tasks around this new automation equipment and not having to have your technicians or lab scientists do this anymore, but being able to understand what that other time can provide you and how you want to effectively use it. So I think to be able to manage that change in a comprehensive way that doesn't completely upset the how you're working in your lab, you want to make sure that again, the automation partner that you're working with is very invested in your success, and I think both of us try to make sure we represent our companies to do so. And that we can start with something that may seem small and then grow out from there, because it's very helpful to like make sure that we're achieving tangible progress on specific goals. And if we want to build another system or increase the size of an existing one, I'm sure both of us will be happy to help you do that. But we want to make sure that you're getting as much as you can out of these platforms as quickly as you can as well.
Absolutely agree with you. Very good points.
Thank you both. Hopefully that was helpful for our audience. So I think that is a good point there to open out questions to the audience. So as I said at the beginning, we do have some time now to take your questions. So if you can continue posting those in the questions panel, we'll get through as many as we can now. Alternatively, I've just shown up the websites for both SPT Labtech and Biosero if you'd like to find out any more information. So if I can please ask Jose and Darren to bring their cameras back. And then the first question that I have here is, if I want to get started with integrating my Dragonfly, what's the best way that I can get started? Who should I reach out to?
So if you don't know the territory manager in charge for your sector, nor have a contact already with an SPT FIS or service engineer, you can simply just go to our website and place your query over there. We are checking these emails every hour, and the request will be sent to the appropriate person right away.
Yeah, similarly, I mean, you can just go to biosero.com. We have a big contact sales button on the website right there, and fill out the form that will send you to, and we can, start initiating the process that we've talked about so far today, just sort of making sure we're understanding the needs of your lab, building in those to a proposal for a solution that we can provide, and then see where it goes from there.
Thank you. The next question I have here, and I'm not sure who this one's directed to, so perhaps both of you have something to say. How easy is it to build custom protocols?
Yeah, sure. I think we both have our own ways that we can sort of enable that. I know generally from, I'll let Jose answer the SPT specific side of that for how you would build things in their software, but from the Biosero side, generally that first and foremost on the work cell level involves using our Green Button Go automation scheduling software. So if you contact the sales part of our company on the website. We can help set up a demo to show you how you can use the drag and drop interface to build relatively simple up to very complex protocols using any number of instruments that we provide. I think we have a list of around 300 to 400 drivers on our website to show you all the different instruments that we can already control. But of course, we can also integrate new devices or any sort of custom hardware that you might need on that work cell as well.
On our end, no matter if it's mosquito, dragonfly, firefly, you just proceed as usual. You use the software of the instrument, you develop your protocol application, and the Biosero green button then simply calls the protocol in question, and this same software just chats with the mosquito, the dragonfly, firefly, and follow their progress while they are performing the protocol. So they talk to each other, and pretty easy.
Thank you. The next question I have here is the machine able to prompt the user to add more tip blocks during a running process?
Jose, I may need you to answer that specific to the hardware. I think I know if it's possible for the robot arms that we usually use to dock and undock those, then that is useful. I think the advantage of the mosquito is that you can put in such a large wheel of those tips that the need to change those is relatively scarce, I think. But yeah, on the hardware side, I can let you take that, I guess.
So regarding mosquito, our spools can contain up to 36,000 tips. So usually it's more than enough for your process. If we talk, for example, about platforms like the Firefly, my recommendation would be then to store the tips into external plate hotels and having the robot bringing the tips directly into the deck automatically without having to interact with it manually. Nevertheless, if you, as we said during the webinar, if you start with a scalable system and you don't want to invest immediately into tips or plate hotel, the software can prompt a message automatically asking you to come to refill your deck.
Yeah, and that's actually probably a good point to expand on the Green Button Go side of things as well. Part of the consultation that we would do to make sure that we're delivering the right integrated solution for you is to make sure that we have good accounting for when you need to change out those tips and can build in prompts or any sort of custom dialogue that would be necessary in order to allow us to tell the user to either manually switch out those tips or tell the robot arm to bring a new comb over. So that's all part of what we usually talk about in the pre-sales process.
Thank you. And Jose, I know you mentioned Firefly then, and in fact, this brings me on to another question that we've got come through, where someone picked up that you'd mentioned Firefly earlier on in the webinar, and they've asked how Firefly's capabilities differ to Mosquito and Dragonfly. I know we show both of those in some of the videos, but if you could just speak a bit more about Firefly.
Thank you very much for this question. This is a very exciting product. So it's been launched in February 2022. It's very, very compact and unique. It integrates two different liquid handling technologies. So in the same instrument, you have net displacement 384 pipetting head that can accommodate full 384 plates or one or multiple columns of 16 tips, as well 96 format plates or one or multiple columns of 8 at your convenience, depending on your protocol. The volume range goes from 0.5 to 125 microliters. And it's a very, very, very precise air displacement head. The thinnest of the tips are helping and contributing to this high performance. And as well, embedded into the same instrument, we are using the technology of the Dragonfly for this dispenser. So it can include 3 or 6 different independent heads using positive displacement, meaning that the instrument is totally liquid class agnostic. So no matter if you want to dispense ethanol or 80% glycerol, you don't have to play with any settings. As well as I've mentioned before, the 3 or 6 heads are totally independent. So in the case of a normalization of a plate, you can simply use all syringes and populate, as an example, to show you how fast it is, populate a 384 full plate with, let's say, 5 microliters in each well in less than 30 seconds. In the case of, as well, something to mention about the dispenser, his volume range goes from 200 nanoliters up to 4.5, which is just pretty incredible. As well, embedded into the instrument, because the first version we have launched is the one with the genomics package. You will find a thermal control locator for your plate, as well an orbital shaker. And you can keep all the reagents you may need to dispense during the process into a tray, which is dropped into a temperature control locator as well. And maybe to finish, because this is really key, the software is really just easy, super easy. It's very object-oriented. Within 1 hour, a customer is ready to go into program his own protocols. That's what I've observed in all the installations I've been participating to. And as well, it is totally license-free, which means that you can install it in any computer of the lab, develop your own protocols, send them to the Firefly, or share it with your colleagues, or through the cloud with the Firefly community. And I'm going to stop now because I'm really passionate with this one.
Thank you, Jose. That was, yeah, no, that was a good answer. The next question, we can give Jose a rest. The next question, I believe, was for Darren, and that is, what devices can the Biosero software connect to in integration?
Sure. So like I was mentioning a second ago, we have a list of those drivers available on our website. So of course, it would take probably a little longer than we'd have time for today to list all of them out, because the list is 300 to 400 devices strong currently. But I would say by default, we have all of the major types of devices you expect from all major laboratory automation providers as part of that. And again, of course, if we have a custom device that needs to be added to your system, we do offer driver development services for creating a specific driver to use in our Green Button Go workflows as well.
Thank you. And then this, I believe, now will be the last questions. So just before we kick off this, just thank you to everyone that's joined us today and that stayed with us. And so the last question I have here is, who would I work with if I partnered with SPT Labtech and Biosero? Who would, and that involves who would I work with to build protocols and troubleshooting any issues?
So on our end, definitely the FIS. We are here to help the customers to develop their protocols and to help them to troubleshoot whenever they encounter an issue when running these protocols. We have generic email addresses that you can reach depending on the product you are using. Having multiple people reading these emails and addressing the questions you may have. As well, for sure, it's a teamwork. So we are working in collaboration with our talented engineers and help each other to support our customers at its best.
Yeah, similarly, the applications team does a lot of the front end of creating these green button go methods from the statement of work that we usually generate as part of the earlier process for our projects. The field applications team, again, which I help manage, will work with the customer from the start of the project all the way up through acceptance testing to make sure that we're, again, providing best practices, making sure we're providing simulation versions of these methods running from start to finish, and then making sure we can go out and do all of the acceptance testing in our factory and then at the site. We also make sure we're partnering with places like SPT to make sure that they're developing the correct methods for the green button go workflows and then managing the integration between those two pieces. So obviously we want to make sure that the experts at the SPT are allowed to do what they're best at, which is creating protocols for their own software, but we also want to make sure that we collaborate effectively on when and how we tell those protocols to execute in our software, so that, again, we're just making sure we're prioritizing the success of the customer's assay at the end of the day.
Thank you. So yeah, so that's a wrap then for today. So thank you again to everyone that joined. Thank you both to Jose and to Darren for your time and presenting, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much.
You.
Thank you very much.